Ogo IBOK, like they've said, and the CEO of SENCE Agric and also SENCE, an HR company in Lagos, Nigeria. I've been in agriculture for the past 9 years, and we do a lot of work with new entrants into the sector. So today I'm going to talk about investment opportunities in agriculture in Nigeria. Before I go into that, I think the first thing I'll do is a brief introduction, is to talk about just a bit of agriculture in Nigeria and where we are. The sector is large, it's full of potential, but it's largely underdeveloped. And I don't think that is a surprise to anybody, because if you know the way Nigeria is, we've been focused a lot on oil. And because of that, we haven't developed our agriculture sector the way we should have. So it's not a surprise that our agriculture sector is largely underdeveloped. But that is not to say that it doesn't have potential. It has a lot of potential. At the moment, the sector is characterized by 50% post-harvest losses of food. So we get a lot of waste. And I really believe that we produce enough food in Nigeria. I believe that the problem we have is that we produce a lot, but a lot of it goes to waste for reasons that we'll talk about in a few minutes. In addition to that, we are a net importer of food in Nigeria. With all the land and everything we have, we still spend a lot of money importing food into Nigeria. And so that is where the opportunity lies for people who want to be involved in the agriculture sector. In the past, in the 1960s, agriculture accounted for 80% of our export earnings. It's the largest employer of labor, and it still is. And it was also, it accounted for 60% GDP and 50% of the government revenue. But along the line, when oil came, a lot of this changed, and it became, relegated to the background. 2019, it was just 22% of our GDP, and it accounts for 1.8% of our exports. So you see that we have gone really far down the line from where we were in the 60s. The global picture. What is happening? We have to set a context of what's happening around the world so we understand the importance of the Nigerian agriculture sector. We have a rising world population, and we've been told that by the year 2050, we're going to have about 2.3 billion people additional to the world. Now, that means that we need to increase levels by at least 70% if we're going to feed an estimated 9.1 billion people. So, for example, we need cereals for animal consumption, estimated at 3 billion tons. At the moment, it's just about over. So if we're going to meet the population need for food in 2050, we need to increase this to about 3 billion tons. In addition, there's a rising need for feedstock. For a growing biotechnology industry, which places more demands on crops that were before meant for consumption. So now we have a lot of emphasis on biotechnology. And it now means that apart from food for consumption, we also need to be able to produce, to be able to feed these new industries. There's also the need to expand arable land to accommodate the increase in production. So if we're going to be feeding 9 billion people in 2050, we need arable land to do so. It is estimated that we would need an additional 70 million hectares of land. Of the total arable land available world over, 120 million hectares are in the developing countries. And so there's a lot of emphasis the developing countries to get their agriculture right if we're going to be the saviors of the world in 2050. Of the 80% of the expansion will take place in sub-Saharan Africa. Nigeria currently has about 48 million hectares of uncultivated, and you can see that that is a lot of land. Also, in Nigeria, we have, not just in Nigeria, world over, we have an aging population of farmers. Agriculture is not exactly very attractive at the younger generation because they see it as something that you do if you don't have a choice. It's for poor people. And so there's a need to make agriculture into a business and an attractive business at that. Research and improved technology in the area of crop production means that higher yield crops that are more diseases and pests becoming common. And then, of course, there's also the issue of climate change, which may affect culture in most countries if we don't manage it properly. And so these are all the things in the global environment that are going to impact Nigerian agriculture. So where does Nigeria sit in all of this? Nigeria sits in the midst of abundant but underutilized natural and human resources. Agriculture is very critical to the Nigerian economy. It provides employment to 70 million of the population, and it provides food for over 180 million people. Nigeria's climate permits the cultivation of a variety of crops. We can grow anything in Nigeria. We can grow root crops, we can grow tree crops, we can grow cereals, we can grow an assortment of fruits and vegetables. So things like strawberries can be part of Nigeria, around the plateau, where the weather is just right for such things. So we have an abundance of fruits and vegetables and fruits that we can grow because we have. So some facts that we need to know. 1, 70% of the total population are farmers. That means about 124 million people. 85 to 90 of the total population of farmers are subsistent farmers. So they produce largely for consumption, and over the years, they've maintained relatively unchanged farming practices. So basically, they've been doing the same thing that their forefathers did over and over again. But having said that, we must also acknowledge that it's this same group of people who have been feeding the nation for centuries. In addition to that, landholding in Nigeria is fragmented because of the tradition of passing from one generation to the other. Because a farmer can have a small parcel of land in locations. On average, a farmer owns approximately 6 hectares of land, which in international agricultural circles is classified as small holdings. 95.7% of farmers in Nigeria own between 0 to 10 and 6 hectares, classifying them as smallholder farmers. 4% are medium-scale farmers with 6 hectares and 9 hectares of land, while a minute 0.3% can be classified as large-scale with more than 10 hectares of land. The emergence of new generation of farmers with 25 hectares or more who are ready to embrace more techniques is a welcome development. The potential of the sector. Nigeria agriculture sector has enormous potential, with an opportunity to grow our outputs by 160% from $99 billion at present to $256 billion by 2030. The growth potential comes from our ability to increase our yield to 80 to 100% of benchmark countries. We also have an opportunity to increase agricultural average to 36% of Nigeria's unused arable land. We also have an opportunity to shift 20% of production to higher value crops, such as a lot of the fruits and the vegetables. The sector is and ready to welcome innovative new approaches to increased profits and growth. Every aspect of the value chain provides opportunities for you. There are challenges, but the potential far outweighs these. And so, why do you need to invest in Nigerian agriculture? Nigeria faces a large and growing global agricultural market. We have a growing demand for food. With a population increase, there's a growing demand for food. There are opportunities in biofuels as safe sources of alternative fuel to become the main driver for more equitable income growth. So what I've done is to make this more easier to follow. I have broken it down along the value chains. So what I've done is I've taken the beginning of the value chain to the end of the agricultural value chain to show the different opportunities available in the different value chains. So we start off with the beginning, which is agricultural inputs. Inputs are the starting point for all agricultural activities. The availability of the right inputs can improve the quality of the produce and enhance production. Some key inputs include planting materials, seedlings, quality seeds, fertilizer, agrochemicals, animal stock, broodstock, fingerlings, equipment, livestock feed production, etc. In all of this, I have selected agrochemicals to talk about and equipment as two of the major areas in inputs. Agrochemicals are a staple in the agricultural sector as they protect plants from diseases, pests, and weeds, thereby guaranteeing better harvests and more food. The agrochemical industry in Nigeria is worth $250 million. 99% of agrochemicals are imported into Nigeria, which makes the sector an investor's dream. Recent estimates put the growth in demand for crop protection products at 9% per annum, with projection of $150 million in annual sales. Opportunities exist for investment in the production, import, and blending of quality agrochemicals. Equipment leasing. Presently, the cost of clearing land constitutes a large chunk of the amount spent by farmers. According to the World Bank, the average number of tractors per 100 kilometers square of arable land in Nigeria is 6.8, compared to 29 in Kenya and the world average of 195.3. With just over 30 million hectares of land under cultivation, Nigeria is home to somewhere in the region of 20,000 public and private tractors, which you'll agree with me is nothing. This falls significantly short of the numbers required, even under conservative estimates. Approximately 60% of the nation's 16 million smallholders could be legitimate potential customers for a tractor service provider. Over 70,000 tractors would be needed. So we now move from inputs to the next stage on the value chain, which is production. Agriculture production covers a vast array of activities and includes such areas as animal production, crop production, agroforestry, aquaculture. Production in agriculture is yet to reach its potential. Every field of production, we are producing below potential and have to import to make up. Aquaculture is currently 4 million tons, while the potential is 2.5 million tons. So by aquaculture, I'm referring as not the cultivated fishery, but the regular fishing. Within this gap lies numerous opportunities for interested persons. Some of the opportunities include production of fish feeds. This is a major area for investment. In fact, in Lagos State, it is one of the critical areas for the Lagos State government to get as many people as possible investing in livestock feeds. Also, the production of good quality fingerlings for farmers, and then processing. Another area under production I've singled out is cassava production. Nigerian cassava production is by far the largest in the world. Production in 2017 was estimated 9 million metric tons and continues to increase rapidly. In spite of this, we are still producing below potential, as 90% of the current production is for consumption. With the 10% inclusion in flour that came up about 12 years ago in Nigeria, and its increasing use for biofuel, the demand is expected to reach additional 1.1 million tons of fresh cassava. Area we have a single is rice production and milling. We are the largest importer of rice in the Nigeria's rice consumption is projected to 6 million tons by 2050. 7 million tons that we are on now. And so there is an opportunity for processing. Then we move on to the next step on the value chain, logistics. Logistics is all about ensuring that the right produce is delivered in right quantity, condition, to the right place, at the right time, and at the right cost. The logistics industry is underdeveloped and dominated by small to medium-sized companies. The logistics company, the oil sector, not sufficiently serve the agriculture sector. Concern include transportation, moving of produce from one location to the other, storage and warehousing. We have a huge house for the massive post-harvest loss that we saw. Distribution. These areas are severely underdeveloped. Developed can have impact on the agriculture industry. Transportation inefficiencies in the logistics chain contribute to a loss of perishable food products up to the tune of 50%. Storage for grains and the cold chain variety for perishable goods are in severe. Different areas that require cold chain storage include poultry, horticulture, that's vegetables, flowers, special purpose transport vehicles, like cold chain transport, for making sure that when we transport poultry or we're transporting fruits and vegetables, that they remain fresh, is definitely missing. Preservation services. I'm sure most of us know that cassava undergoes post-harvest physiological deterioration, which reduces the quality of the produce within 48 hours of harvest. But there are ways of preserving cassava so that we do not have this, decline in the starch content, and that includes things like waxing of cassava or freezing. We don't have any of these available. Storage. An estimated 60% of agricultural produce is wasted annually due to limited storage facilities. It provides an opportunity for anybody who is versed in storage and agricultural storage at that. The provision of storage facilities to farmers at various locations including smaller cities across the country, will be an invaluable contribution to the agriculture sector. Then we move to the next level on the value chain, which is processing. Processing is all about transforming products originating from agriculture into finished products. The potential for agro-industrial development in the country is largely linked to the relative abundance of agricultural raw materials and low cost of labor. In a study conducted by the which involved individual in-depth interviews with major agro-processing firms, it was revealed that an overwhelming $10 billion private sector investment opportunities exist in the agri industry. One area that I want to highlight is juice concentrates. Nigeria has an abundance, and when I say an abundance, I mean an abundance of food. We produce a lot of mangoes, for instance. I took a trip about 2 years ago to the northern side of the country, and on the way to Nasarawa State, there was so much mango. A lot of them were growing, not because anybody planted them, but they'd been there. And the waste was eye-watering. It was very, very sad to see. So, and you would think that in all of this, that the concentrates that the juice industry or the drinks industry in Nigeria uses is produced in Nigeria. You'll be wrong. Over 1 million tons of citrus was wasted due to insufficient storage infrastructure. Nigeria produces 30% of all the citrus in the world and 82% of all the citrus in Africa. But it is yet to translate this into processing. All of the concentrates used in juice companies in Nigeria are imported. As such, opportunities exist to process fruits to pulp and fruit juices. Another area is tomatoes. The size of the Nigerian market for tomato paste is approximately 200,000 tons per annum. And with proximity to a broader West African market, it could easily go up to between 300,000 and 400,000 tons per annum. Nigeria is ranked the second largest producer of tomato in Africa and the 13th in the world, producing 1.17 million tons. Despite this advantage, Nigeria imports of processed tomato paste is valued at 11.7 billion. This is naira, actually, not dollars. And this is as a result of over 45% of the harvested tomato being lost due to poor food supply chain management. The demand for tomato is currently estimated at 2.3 per annum, while output is 1.8 million metric tons. Also, cassava. Nigeria, as the largest producer of cassava in the world, accounts for 0% of global trade in value-added cassava products. Currently, Nigeria's local textile industry and food companies import over 90% of their starch requirements. The annual national demand for cassava starch alone is estimated at 300,000 tons, while the national supply estimate is about 300,000 tons. Again, let's move to the next level on the value chain, which is markets. Access to markets is perhaps the most challenging aspect of agriculture for farmers. More produce end up rotting in the farms than are actually sold in the markets. There is a need for marketing experts with the understanding of the dynamics of the agricultural sector in Nigeria to get involved by finding innovative solutions. Some opportunities in this area include packaging and branding, product awareness, marketing, and export services. Some challenges. So we've gotten to the end of the value chain. And Of course, a lot of challenges. They exist, and we all know that they do. But like I said at the beginning, the opportunities far outweighs the challenges. And I believe that if you have a very good understanding of the market, then you have the opportunity to avoid a lot of the challenges. So what are these challenges? One, the inability of farmers and intending farmers to access vital information on research development, new methods of farming, and improved breeds of crops. And in response to this was one of the first things that attracted me to this industry. I wanted to set up something for myself, and I wanted to get enough information to be able to make a strategic decision. There was no information available. Getting data is really hard. So one of the things we did was we set up agriculturenigeria.com, where we try to provide people with the information they require to be able to make strategic decisions in the agri sector. So this is one very critical area where there is no information and there's not enough available data for farmers to use to make their decisions. The second one, which I'm sure everybody knows, is always access to funds. I mean, access to funds is fine if you are a big, large-scale farmer. But remember that 70% of the population are farmers, and majority of them are small-scale farmers. They don't have access to funding that they require to move their agriculture together. So if there's an opportunity for somebody to think about the small-scale farmers and to see how to help these people up their game, and I think that's a good area to consider. Another is poor infrastructure. I mean, we have issues with electricity, which makes the cost of production very high. We have things like bad roads, which makes it difficult to move crops from the villages where they are planted to the cities where they are needed. So it affects a healthy production, a procession along the value chain. There's always an interruption at every point. The other issue is adequate storage, which I already mentioned. If we can get more storage, lack of adequate storage, it's a challenge that a lot of people within the industry. So if you set up a rice farm or you set up a green company, how do you store? You have to think about this. You have to think about at the instant when you're your investment. The other thing is finding the right seeds. I have a client who is production of livestock production, and for the past 1 week we've been looking for, which is used as feed for animals in the sector. It's difficult to come across that. We can't even get very available. So these are things you need to think about when you're making your best. Difficulty in acquiring land and the attendant insecurity. Like I explained, the land holding system in Nigeria is a bit traditional. However, this is not so much a major challenge anymore because the government is aware of this landholding structure, and it's doing a lot to make it possible for people to get access to land for agricultural purposes. But there's still the issue of insecurity, which is caused by a lot of problems with cattle headsmen and the rest of them. And access to markets. Well, access to markets in the sense that apart from the fact that we don't have the infrastructure to get the produce from where they are needed, we don't have train, for instance. We don't have a train system in Nigeria that makes it possible to move goods by rail. Everything is done by road. And when you have bad roads on top of the problem you have. Getting your goods to the market is a problem. And then the other one is lack of skilled labor. It's a big problem. I mentioned earlier that the young people look at agriculture as an unattractive thing to do. So most often than not, it's difficult to find the skilled labor that you need in that sector to be able to move the business forward. But we're working on that, and we're trying to set up a system where we have trained agricultural graduates who are also trained in the of running a business, so that in addition to their technical knowledge in agriculture, they also have some kind of knowledge in business side of it, because really agriculture is a business. And then the final thing I want to talk about is how we can help. So like I mentioned, we already set up a platform called Nigeria.com, provides information. So what we try to do is to provide basic information, especially for new entrants into the sector. We have a lot of young upcoming Nigerians who are now interested in the agriculture sector. We also do a lot of feasibility studies, because the you can make in going into an agriculture venture is not being prepared. Unlike other industries, you can't. This is not the one where you can force your way through. You can't. So it's important that you understand what you're going into, that you understand the circumstances that surround your investment, and that you understand the challenges you're going to face, and then begin to craft a strategy for dealing with each one of them. We also offer assistance in setting up and management of agricultural projects. We work with, we help with equipment sourcing. We also we provide training, and we also provide advocacy. One of the things we're working on now is to get people to start growing their own food. And this is our way of supporting the SDG goals of zero hunger and no poverty. So what we're trying to do is to encourage people to grow what you eat. And we're trying to reach families and individuals just to make sure that we have some kind of foothold into reducing poverty and hunger. And I think that's about everything I have for you. Thank you very much for your time, and thank you so much for this opportunity to share this with you. Thank you.